Hello everybody, this is Aaron Myers and I'm live from IKEA, and today I want to offer you a few tips and some ideas about how you can improve your listening in the language that you're learning. One of the things I find is when I listen to something, whether it be a podcast, a radio program, to a movie or a TV show, is that I oftentimes will, especially when I was beginning, kind of fade out where my mind starts to wander and I'm not really paying any attention anymore. And so today I want to offer 5 simple tasks that you can do as you listen to help you stay on task, to help you stay connected with what you're listening to, and to make your listening a more, just a better experience for you and something that you can just use to a greater degree for your learning. So another thing to think about is just at the beginning, as you're learning a language, to think about, limiting the amount of, not in total, but the amount in each sitting that you are listening to, so that you're listening to smaller chunks, 5, 10, 15 minutes at a time with breaks in between to do other things, rather than sitting down and trying to listen to a 1-hour speech or watching a 2-hour movie, where it's just going to be a lot harder for you to really stay engaged. And so that would be my first suggestion. Now, some things that you can do to really help you engage with what you're listening. One is to listen for, and I would do this with a notebook and write these down, for all the words that you recognize and that you know. This is especially good at the beginning when you're learning, to just be forcing yourself to listen to listen for the words that you already know. It's a little different than what you think or expect, but it can be a great exercise, a confidence builder, and help you really start to refine listening skills to words that you already recognize and know. And the other thing that this does is it allows you to listen for things that you can hear. If you're listening for new words that you don't know, which is the thing I'm going to suggest next, is that sometimes when you're, especially at the beginning, you don't know when a word begins and ends. So if you're listening for words that you already know, you've got a target to look for that has a beginning, has an end, that's defined. So that's why this can be a good activity at the beginning when you're beginning to learn a language. Now, a second one then would be to listen for words that you do not know. And this could really be words or expressions, and to be writing these down. And this is probably, again, maybe a little bit more, attuned to a more intermediate level of language, where you're getting a lot of things already, and you just want to really be catching those things that you don't know. To really maximize this, then I would encourage you to write those down, to look those up, to play around with them a bit and get an understanding of what those words mean. And then, especially if you're listening to a recording of something, to be able to go back, watch or listen again, and just see how much more you catch out of that, and to really get those words in context and get your mind making connections with those words in context. So don't be afraid to go back and listen again. A third thing would be to listen for forms, for grammar forms. If you're listening and are learning about the present tense, the past tense, or different grammar forms, to really just say, I'm gonna watch this movie, and every time I hear that form come up, I'm gonna write it down, and that will allow you to really listen for those and allow your mind to really make a stronger engagement with those new forms that you're learning, to make a connection with it, and hopefully then to internalize it more quickly. The next one would be to listen for particular interactions, and this is especially good in movies. But listening for and saying, I'm going to pay attention to every greeting that's made during a movie, or I'm going to listen for arguments and watch how arguments play out, or you choose the type of interaction, leave takings, introductions. There's a lot of different situations that come up in a movie in particular, and to be able to listen for those, to watch how those happen. Particularly useful when you're watching a foreign-made film that's made by and in the target language culture. But in any rate, it can be a good activity to do to really focus your listening and help you engage. And then lastly, the last thing you can do is really just listen for particular topics. And this can be a useful listening exercise to say every time, especially if it's something you're familiar with or that has a regular pattern, a news broadcast, for example, listening for the world news to come up, for the weather to come up, and how those are introduced, and really paying attention to those can be a good listening skill. So those are just a few of the ideas I have to give you kind of concrete tasks to help you kind of engage and plug in the listening a little bit better, to allow you to really focus in on listening and sharpening your listening skills. And I hope those are helpful. I hope they will help you become a better language learner. And that's it for today. Blessings on your language learning journey. We'll see you later.